Hello! Yep, today I'm gonna tell you all about the history of Final Fantasy XIV. For instance, did you know that Bard LB3 used to be the healer LB3? That's right, when a Bard did LB3, they would raise the entire party. Pretty cool! In order to unlock the job, you used to have to level another job to level 15. For instance, to get Black Mage, you would have to get Thaumaturge to level 30 and Archer to level 15. And not only that, but all of these role abilities here, they used to be called cross-class abilities, and you would unlock them from leveling up other jobs and getting their skills. For instance, Swift Cast came from Black Mage level 26, so if you were a healer, you had to level Black Mage in order to have Swift Cast raise. Level 26. And Dragoon had Blood for Blood, but that worked on all the melees, so all the other melees had to level Dragoon to get the damage buff. Provoke was a Paladin ability. You could only get it from Paladin. If you played Warrior, you had to level Paladin, or you didn't have Provoke. This video is sponsored by Ragnarok Origin, link in the description below. Welcome to Ragnarok Origin, where the fantasy becomes reality. This epic MMORPG on mobile has begun pre-registration. Enter in a fantasy open world and discover mysterious, fun, and evil secrets hidden in this magical adventure. It's got infinite character customization. Customize and upgrade your weapons, armor, magic abilities, and more to match your playstyle and defeat your opponents. And look at this art, it's so nice! Who wouldn't want to live a heroic fantasy life? What anime should I watch? Do I still watch anime? Of course! Yes, this is an MMO for anime fans. So if Ragnarok Origin looks interesting to you, go visit the pre-registration site in the link in the description below and pre-register today. And they're even giving away a Tesla Model S. So yeah, I think that might be worth doing. And healers used to have this thing called Cleric Stance. I'm not talking about the old Cleric Stance that would buff your damage. No. I'm talking about old Cleric Stance. The one where you would have to push a button and then swap between heal mode and DPS mode. Let's say I push a button. Okay, I'm in Cleric Stance. Now all of my DPS skills actually do damage, right? But all my heals don't heal. So now if I have to heal somebody, I have to pop Cleric Stance off and then heal them. And this was freaking great. You could tell people, no man, I can't heal you right now. I'm in Cleric Stance. Yeah, they should bring that back. I think everybody would really like that. Yeah, here's a fun one. Gear used to have accuracy stats on it, and you would need a minimum accuracy in order to even hit the boss. Yeah, there was a different number for the front, the rear, and the side. Yeah, so if you were a tank and you didn't meet the front accuracy requirement, guess what? All your hits miss and you don't keep aggro. Yeah, so you would have to build your entire gear set around making sure you hit accuracy cap. It sucked. And we didn't always look this beautiful and amazing. Yeah, in the beginning of the game, we didn't have glamours. Yeah, we looked like this. You know, a tome chest, hands from a raid, boots from a dungeon. Yeah. This one might actually be the biggest quality of life change. Yeah, in raids, when you wiped, your cooldowns did not reset. So if you pulled and somebody hit hollowed ground and they needed it, and then everybody died, you had to wait the 7 minutes for hollow ground to come back. Your cooldowns resetting sped up prog so much. Oh yeah, and if you died, you lost your food buff. Yeah, every time you died, you had to put your food buff back on. If any group had a bard, which most did, dragoons were required because they would give a piercing debuff to the boss, and that would buff the bard's damage. Also, there used to be 3 bars. We had HP, MP, and TP, and the physical jobs would all work off of TP. And yeah, guess what? Whenever you push sprint, you would use up your entire TP gauge, and you wouldn't be able to attack anymore. Pretty good for casters and healers though, because they used MP. Oh yeah, and dying would reduce all of your stats. So the more you died, your health would get lower too, which really did not end up helping your cause because it just became easier to die then. Overall, tanks had to do a lot more managing with their enmity than they do now. Actually, everybody in the whole party would kind of help out, especially ninjas. They had an ability where they could give their enmity to the tank, and they actually had an ability where they could reduce somebody else's enmity, including the tank. And of course, asking the Black Mage to make sure they did quelling strikes before they used all their explosions, that was very common. Otherwise, the boss would go whoop and kill the Black Mage. You know, melees still cry about positionals now, but back in the day, if you missed a positional, you broke your combo. Dots wouldn't happen, the buffs wouldn't happen if you didn't get the positional. Yeah, it was way worse. Your whole rotation would be messed up. So this is pretty cool. Titan Eggy used to be able to be a tank. Yeah, it made a lot more sense. And he had a health bar. They don't have health bars anymore. In fact, there was a whole strat surrounding that. This fight was way too hard for the tanks at the time, so you would just bring Titan Eggy, and Titan Eggy would tank remove. Reason being is he didn't have to do the tank mechanics. But yeah, Square Enix did not like that, so they nerfed Titan Eggy after that. Something about wanting the tanks to be able to play the game. I mean, summoners back then were even able to solo extreme fights because of Titan. So yeah, don't worry, Titan Eggy. I'm sure someday you'll do something good again. So you know how with Scholar, they have two fairies, Eos and Selene? You might be wondering what's the difference. Right now there's not a difference, but there used to be a big one. So Eos used to be the healer-focused fairy. It did a lot of AoE regens and buffs. But Selene, on the other hand, was the DPS fairy, specifically because it gave everybody haste. Yeah, Selene was the best. Especially for black mages. We freaking love Selene. Yeah, but she doesn't do that anymore, so bye. You used to be able to assign points to your attributes. So like you would put 30 points into strength or 30 points into intelligence, right? So if you wanted to be able to play both Scholar and Summoner, whenever you swapped, you need to buy this item that would reset your stat allocation points between Mind and Intelligence. Yeah, back in the day, you couldn't actually just queue up for raids in the Duty Finder. You had to go to where the raid was physically located with your whole party of 8 people physically here and queue up at the location. Yeah, and this meant that all of the raiders on the server would be here during raid night. You know, reset would happen. There would be people sitting here waiting for their raid to start, or there'd be people over here jumping up and down naked asking for a raid group, you know? It was simple times, very simple times. And this would change depending on the tier. Like this is where second coil was, and right over this way, this is where the final coil was. You see this entrance right here? This is where everybody would be. Oh yeah, and by the way, cross-world party finder was not a thing. You could only raid with the people that were on your server. So again, that's why all the raiders were here on raid night, and if you weren't here on raid night, you couldn't raid. But I mean, now we have a full party finder, and you're gonna be able to find a raid no matter what time of day. So ultimately, it's better for the game that way. You know how all of our raids nowadays are called Savage? It'll say Savage difficulty, and that's the end game raid. Well, back in A Realm Reborn, the coils were Savage. They just didn't have that naming convention yet. These were the end game raids. And when you see a second coil Savage, these were super hard. Their whole idea of making these was how mean can we be? And in these older raids, since they have trash mobs in between the entrance and the boss, you would have somebody join a party earlier on in the week to go in and clear the trash, and that would get you a shortcut. So that way, when you did have raid time during that week, you could just use the shortcut and start attacking the boss right away. We don't have to do that anymore because now raids are just, you know, you queue in, you're at the boss. And it's unfortunate, but like these older raids, like Coil especially, you can never fight it like how it used to be. Even with minimum item level on and no echo, the fight is nerfed from its original state. They don't do this anymore, but they did at the time. Every patch after a raid would come out, they would nerf the previous tier. For instance, in this fight, a Reynad, if it hit you, you would die. One shot, you're dead. And then all of the petrification mechanics in this fight, if you petrified your teammate or somebody else petrified you and you got hit by anything while you were petrified, no matter how much damage it did, you died. Another really cool thing with this fight was that you needed to get a kiter. You see this tether going from me to the Reynad there? You needed a specific person in the raid team to do this job, and it would usually be a summoner. So the party finders would always be like, need summoner, need a kiter, because the kiter would bring the Reynad over here and they would slow it down with their dot, and then the healers would freeze it in place. And you would do that with 4 Reynads, and eventually they just wouldn't spawn anymore. Fun fact with that, in the Savage version of Turn 7, the Reynads keep coming, and there's 2 of them at a time. Yeah, the way that they designed Turn 7 Savage was they looked at how we did strats and how we cheese things, and then made it impossible for us to cheese it anymore. Now, in Turn 2, there was this really funny strat. Because Allegan Rot was too hard and nobody wanted to do it, that's the debuff that you gotta pass around, otherwise you explode. What you would do instead was wait for the enrage timer, 12 minutes, and you would bring in 3 healers, and you would pull ADS just as it enraged, and then you would just heal through all the damage that it did instead. See, charge complete in 10 clicks, gotta wait for 0 clicks. 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. Oh, there it is. Charge complete. Now we pull, it's enraged. Yep, this was much easier to deal with than doing Rot. He just keeps doing this AoE over and over and over again. But you would need 3 healers spam healing you over and over to live. Also, Mordona in general didn't always look like this. Yep, there used to be a big tree here. Not sure why they took that out. Everybody would stand up here. You would show off your really cool gear by standing right here. Or maybe even a mount, right? You're like, oh, I earned this really awesome mount. Oh, that actually kind of worked out. And you just sit right here with it and show everybody. But actually, the greatest part about Mordona was this secret little glitch over here. You could do this, bada bing, bada boom, jump up here, jump over this way, crap, go over here, jump across that, jump onto this rope, and look, now I'm on this rope. See, isn't this nice? Yeah, it's really cool. Great view up here, but it's not that special anymore because we can just fly. So yeah, and yeah, that's it. Actually, there's probably a lot of different things I could go on about the history of Final Fantasy XIV, and maybe I will another time, but for now, that's all I've got. So thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.